A five-star members club brings five-star problems now on BBC Two in Trouble at the Top.
Just behind Selfridges in London's West End lies a hidden palace. It has hosted some of the most glittering parties London has ever seen. It was built in the 18th century for the Countess of Hume, with magnificent entertaining rooms designed by Robert Adam. But the aristocracy are long gone. For the past 12 years, Home House has lain empty and decaying. Now, ex-hotel manager Brian Clivaz is spending £12 million to transform the crumbling mansion into London's first five-star private members club.
When we reveal it to the world, are the art historians going to say we've done a good job? Will the investors get a return? Will the contractor finish on time? Will we get what we need? In a few months' time, it'll all be over and we'll know either it's a great success or it'll be... It won't be. It'll be a disaster.
But with just 16 weeks to the November opening party, he has no members and the house is in chaos.
So this is the... it's a bit ghastly at the moment. This is the kitchen through here.
Completing building for the opening party is vital if Brian's to attract members. For now, he's having to persuade them with a dream.
But this is the plinth, because we've got a big oven coming from France to go in there.
£65,000 of oven.
That's a treatment room.
So you'll be able to go there for aromatherapy.
Aromatherapy, yes. A quick massage. And the sauna's on the right. And, yeah, and there's a fabulous shower going in there. Yeah. Bathrooms are jolly good size, aren't they?
Brian is more used to running restaurants, but now he's in charge of an army of 200 workmen, all trying desperately to complete the building work in time.
We're spending a phenomenal amount of money and we're going to have to somehow make a return for our investors. So we're going to have to recruit 1,000, 1,500, hopefully 1,500 members, paying £1,500 a year. And that is an enormous challenge.
Deadlines are very tight. By November, Brian is hoping to have 70 fully stored rooms, 18 bedrooms, a five-star kitchen and restaurant, a luxurious health spa, and an authentic 18th century garden. It's mid-July, and the builders have their first bad news for Brian. Not everything is going to be ready. Worst of all, the money-spinning bar may not be open until February.
What we're here for today, really, apart from looking at this bar and deciding that whether or not it'll be finished, is to decide what actually will be complete.
Basically, what we can hand over is limited by working access for all the builders. What we're aiming for is the whole of the basement, which gives the kitchens and staff facilities, all of the fine rooms and probably the bedrooms, but not for people to sleep in.
I think, in principle, there's no problem with partial handover as long as it's safe.
It's something we can do, we can live with it, but it's not the ideal.
What can we live with?
Having this. We can live with not having it from a constructional point of view and a safety point of view, but it's not the ideal by any means.
What Paul is saying is...
This is February. What we're saying is we'd like it in November, and Paul's going to re-look at his programme to see if there's any way that he can bring it forward.
If he's not getting any more than we're going to give him. That's what we've said we'll give him, and that's what he's getting. And unfortunately, we just can't give him any more. It's too much.
It looks as though the bar, restaurant and the bedrooms won't be ready for the first members. Not only is the delay embarrassing, it's going to be expensive too.
Now that we know that we're not going to get everything open in November, we need to be able to see what that does to the cash flow. If we look through here, I think in November we're predicting £40,000 coming in from the restaurant. That's not going to happen, is it?
Nope.
I mean, obviously we're not going to get anything for the rooms for November, December or January.
If you call it up here, there it is.
So the forecast shows here that we're £250,000 short on what we thought profit-wise. So that means we need 1,000 members by January.
We do.
We better hope the marketing works, don't we? And it gets worse, does it?
Oh, I'm feeling very optimistic.
You're feeling optimistic. No. So let's be serious. That means 250 members a month. That's what we require. Otherwise, we're going to have to really rethink what we're doing. Yeah. See, sometimes I'm very, very optimistic, and I think it's no problem at all. And other times I get plunged into the depths of despair. We'll do. Of course you get scared. Definitely. It's a very major investment, and a lot of people have put their faith in us and their hard cash, and we have to deliver. And it's the delivering which is not always that easy.
No, the membership I didn't touch at all.
I'm determined that we will make this work. Are you going to have this bit done?
Yes.
Oh, right, very good.
Yes, I'm working into the corner now.
Excellent. That's what I like to hear. But you must come and have a look. We'd love to show you around. Those principal rooms are looking wonderful. Shall we meet? Do you want to come and have a look?
As costs rise and deadlines slip, Brian has to answer to his backers.
So you're happy with the way everything's turning out?
There's still a lot to do, of course.
Richard Farley, Monaco tax exile and keen to be a member, is the biggest investor in the club.
Originally I invested £1 million. It was supposed to be 750, but they didn't make it, so they asked for a bit more, so I said okay. And then with this new round of fundraising, I think I've just put in another £350,000, something like that.
It's very good of his uniform.
No, he hasn't got an open checkbook. There are people on the board who are severely keeping on top of him, and I'm balancing them a little bit by letting him having a little bit of creativity along the way. So, but I'm not going to let him go crazy.
Brian has extravagant tastes, but as the investors tighten their belts, he can no longer have everything he wants.
This is why these. How much does that cost to produce?
Oh, well, it's a fortune. I think with the moulds, it was going to come out at something like £21 each. These are lead crystal. We may not.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. So we can't have them.
You can't have those.
Then this is the one we liked, the highball.
Yes.
The etching was a good idea, but the way it's done, it's not. Looks cheap, doesn't it?
Well, I don't think it looks cheap. It looks all sorts of things, but not cheap.
But it's more expensive.
It's more expensive.
To look cheap.
Of necessity.
These binions we wanted for... It's wonderful,
it's lovely, isn't it?
Yes, but how much are they?
When you bought these previously, they were £9.87.
So they wouldn't have gone up then?
Of course they've gone up.
No, they haven't.
Of course they've gone up. But they've gone up marginally.
They have, yeah. So
they've gone up marginally. We're talking about maybe 10%.
That's not marginal.
Of course it is marginal.
But I want an initial opening discount of some sort.
One has to see the size of the order, doesn't one?
So what can we have?
Oh, are they 15%?
Well, what about if we said these prices which included ex-VAT, you give them to us including VAT?
Yes, that will give you a
17.5%.
All right. I'm not here to argue with a friend, whom I've known since he was a boy in knee breeches.
Yes, I know, but it is, we do have to save our pennies because
so do I.
Every 2.5% I save from you, I can
spend it on
somewhere else. This is all supposed to be down now, you see. So where are we now? July the 20th, so it won't be off till about beginning of September. The problem is, of course, all this scaffolding, it might look fine and you might not worry about, but it costs a fortune every week to keep it all up, because of course it's all hired. So every week that it's up there is another £3,000 or £4,000. 12 times 4 is 48,000 pounds extra. See, that could buy a lot of glasses, couldn't it?
There's more bad news. The campaign to recruit members has been delayed. Still not a single person has signed up.
Unfortunately, the teaser campaign was slightly delayed. It's a very good example of how we have to keep an eye on costs. Because what we wanted to do was we wanted to do a little booklet. And we developed the booklet. We've got a very nice picture on the front. It all proved to be rather too expensive. So we came up with a different idea. This is actually a third of the cost. This is about the history of the club. That'll go out later on this week. It'll be very interesting to see if we get a response, because we have for the first time put our telephone number there. It is frustrating. It's frustrating when you think that something's going to be simple and then somebody tells you it's 6 weeks and that's it. It's a bit like the builder saying, we've got our programme and you're not going to get that area back. Even if you question, you say, why can't we have it back? They say, because you can't.
Brian wants a gourmet chef to attract his exclusive members.
Yeah, go on. Go on.
He persuades Simon Whitley to join up, promising him a state-of-the-art kitchen.
What are we going to cook on? When's the oven actually going to come?
I think September.
September.
It's due, but it's coming in 4 pieces now.
Is it?
Yeah, because it weighs 5 tons or something.
Will that come in through? Will they get that in through the doors, or?
Well, they haven't put this door on because they've measured it to make sure that it'll be able to come through that door.
Yeah, I've worked in the industry in some top places now for the last 12 years. I'm used to pressure. There's pressure all around. As we get near the time, the pressure will mount, but I'm used to pressure. I can take pressure, and I thrive on pressure. That's the big buzz.
Come and have a look at the larder.
It's just as well Simon's used to pressure. He may be cooking in a building site for months.
That's fine, this thicker, that's the right one, this is okay, this finished, that's awful, isn't it? Look at it. Now, how could they send us that? Look at it. Right, China. But I don't like this. I don't like that bowl, that's ghastly. Come and have a look at this. This is something which we bought, which has been converted for us. Now, originally they were going to put 2 shower cubicles downstairs in the health spa, and they were going to be very tight and mean and not particularly good. So we thought, well, why don't we have one really splendid shower? So we've got this shower here.
How much did that cost?
Pardon?
How much did that cost?
It'll cost about £7,500 plus VAT. What's happening with my kitchen?
10 weeks to opening, the kitchen's still not ready.
He's been in the business 25 years. Surely he must have found a good ceiling hanger by now. So I need your people to work over the weekend.
Hopeful that the restaurant will be ready by December, Chef Simon is making his Christmas puddings. He has had to borrow a friend's kitchen in a hotel on the Edgware Road.
The kitchens won't be ready in time. So we're very grateful that we've been lent this kitchen for the day. Luckily I know the chef.
Good afternoon, Home House.
We're having a couple of parties in November.
Did you get the green one or the purple one?
The publicity campaign looks like it's attracting interest, but are they the right kind of people?
We want some glamorous, young, lovely, yes, bejeweled, lovely people. What about Stephen Fry?
Elizabeth Hurley.
Tim Rice.
Mark Ramprakash.
Dawn French. Members and their guests must be appropriately dressed. Smoking is not permitted. Irritating gadgets. Eddie Izzard.
Chris Evans.
Sandy Toksvig.
How about a youngster, James Major?
With deadlines looming, Brian sets off to visit West Wickham Park to get some blue-blooded restoration tips.
How long did refurbishment take?
Then we got down to work with my butler, painter, my wife and myself. And it took us 6 months to get all the brown off the walls. You couldn't work very long, because if you were imbibing methylated spirits and then went out to dinner, I was
And this floor's got the most wonderful sort of Greek key, hasn't it?
Well, that is a Greek key pattern.
Marvellous.
But that had all gone. I mean, it was all left in this state. Now, this room here.
It's the most magnificent place imaginable. Very good quality, isn't it?
Fortunately for Home House, Sir Francis is having to sell off some of his family heirlooms.
Oh, yes, we like that.
With over 70 rooms to furnish, Brian is on the lookout for authentic bargains. He's employed Edward Bulmer, who designed Princess Diana's memorial at Althorp, to recreate the 18th century Home House interior.
I want furniture to establish the place, to make it feel as though it hasn't literally just been furnished. But I don't want people to have the impression that, you know, we've just gone out and bought it all from junk sales.
Too expensive, Robert, you'll say. 1088. Pair of mahogany luggage stands, 8 to 1200.
Brian, how big is your budget for furnishing Home House?
Not big enough. No. We've got a very strict budget, and Edward has been very good actually at working towards it and damping me down and saying, no, you can't afford that because that's £50 and we've only got 10 in the budget.
He doesn't control himself necessarily, and so that he might well get carried away. And I think it's important when you're buying to a budget as we are, given that we're buying a huge number of things. We can't afford to get too carried away with individual items because it really does impact on our ability to furnish the rest of the house.
The exciting thing is seeing if you can get it and beat some little old lady who wants it for her great niece's wedding or something like that. Now we're going to have a bit look at all this chinery things.
Brian, like his dog, I think needs to be on a slight lead, so we don't want him to get auction fever.
1100.
Must be going up to 1500.
£1,200, 1,200. Against you, 1,300 pounds, 1,300, 1,400. At £1,400. Going on, sir?
One more.
Telephone, £850, £100, another telephone, £1,500, £1,600. Standing at £1,600. £200, £200, 20, £250, £250, £300, £300.
Go on, get it. No, we've got one person. I won't be.
£350, £400. Back of the room, £400 at £400. This is very back, £400 now, £400. I'm selling you at £400.
Thank you.
With the opening party just weeks away, some of the rooms are beginning to reveal their former glory. But for most of Home House, recreating the past remains a distant dream. And below stairs, there's a crisis. The lift, which links the basement kitchen to the restaurant, is a tangle of wires, and it could take months to fix.
The lift's going to be 9 to 11 weeks delayed. Now, we can still fit that into our programme, but it's going to be very difficult. And we're going to have to work around the lift people because, of course, they take up a huge amount of space. The problem is, of course, if they're any more delayed, then it really is going to have serious knock-on effects.
Without the lift, it would be difficult for Simon the chef to get his hot food from the basement kitchen to the rest of the club. The success of the opening party is vital for attracting new members, but Brian is worried how they may react to a building site. he calls his marketing team to a crisis meeting.
I wouldn't join a club without having a look at it.
No,
I don't think anybody would.
No.
I want to see what the other members are like.
Yes, which brings me to one thing. There are two areas where they can't really see, and that is the bar, the smoking bar, and which is still being, well, in fact, we've only just got quotes back for it at the moment, and the health spa.
Do artist impressions.
We need, who could we get to do some artist impressions?
Brian's backers are not getting a good impression either. Biggest investor Richard Farley has flown in to check on progress.
Of course, we're very disappointed. Apart from delaying the revenue, it means the cost side goes up, which means we might have to go back to the banks and ask for more money, and that's always difficult. Or we might have to go to the shareholders, and the price would be lower than if it was a sort of linked to success, because it's linked to a slight failure. It means the price would be lower than otherwise. So it's not good in any respect, unfortunately.
With pressures mounting, even Brian's feeling the strain.
Can't despair, because there's just too much to do to despair, but it is very frustrating, and I've got to admit that the pressure is pretty tough at times. Although it's my job to make sure that nobody sees that. I sort of jolly everyone along. Otherwise, if I get depressed, the whole thing will become we'll be in hospital. You do have dark moments when you think, my God, it's all going to go horribly wrong, and you just think, my gosh, will it never end?
The oven finally arrives. It's 2 months late, but at least it does fit through the door. Simon the chef might actually be able to start cooking soon. But there is still no lift to take food from the basement kitchen to the other floors. 3 weeks to opening, and even the builders are showing signs of pressure.
I didn't hardly sleep last night worrying about this job.
Last Friday, I was measuring the position of 40 lights in this tiled basement. And I woke up at 2 in the morning, and I had this after image of white tiles at 2 in the morning. I couldn't get it out of my head.
These are the shared use areas.
More bad news for Brian. Even less of the house than he expected will be ready for the opening party. On the ground floor, the situation is not too bad.
That's the shared use.
But further up, it's much worse. And only 2 of the 18 bathrooms will be finished.
This is your area, these 2 bathrooms here, and shared use of the stairs.
So these ones, the ground floor ladies and gents, aren't available to us until
You're really not available till we give you access
to them
for a fire escape.
So they won't be ready for the middle of November.
No.
What about the kitchen? When is he going to be able to use the kitchen?
Reece is going to be here on the 2nd.
That's next week, Monday. I'll phone the gas man again, I think, just to make sure, because it's desperate.
That is critical now.
Yeah. It's so ridiculous, isn't it?
Brian will have to persuade his party guests to sign up with only 15 of the 70 rooms likely to be ready, no restaurant, and the kitchen incapable of providing the promised 5-star food. Now having to economise on taxes, Brian's off to finalise the staff uniforms. Each one is being handmade in Savile Row.
Do the fitting in front of the mirror. That's it.
Yes.
Like that.
Oh gosh. There's still some areas where we're having problems. Amazingly enough, we're having problems getting connected to the gas and water main.
The other one is all right for length.
Yeah, I think this looks good. Yes. Oh yes, I'm feeling. Yes. Yes, I think that's about right. Yes. Good morning, Your Majesty. Welcome to Home House. It's been great pleasure. What we tried to do with the uniforms is we tried to do something traditional, but with modern touches. Glamorous, that's what we want, glamorous.
So you managed to stay in budget for the uniforms?
I rewrote the budget when we did the uniforms.
Home House is hit by the worst rain for 20 years.
The security guard called me. It was Saturday night, 8 o'clock, and I was here doing some work. And I came into the cupola, and all the water was pouring through the main cupola. I phoned Darcy up. Darcy came over, and the two of us, you know, on the roof, trying to cover up the cupola with plastic sheeting and everything to keep it going. I felt like crying. I thought, oh my God, all this has happened. Water's coming in. It's going to be ruined.
The furniture finally arrives. But interior decorator Edward Bulmer and his wife Emma have also had a very wet weekend.
Friday morning, 6 a.m, I woke up and looked out of the bedroom window to see water 2 foot from our front door. We live next door to a river. And so I looked around, and basically the house was just a sort of little island floating on a lake as far as the eye could see. And most crucially, we had converted a storage barn there for the furniture. And of course, a lot of the furniture was on the ground floor ready to come up on Monday morning. So then we had a sort of slight rescue operation.
Oh God, that looks awful. It is very tense at the moment. Very tense at the moment.
And you're all right, the staircase is clear enough?
Yeah, fine, yeah. You're not supposed to be coming through here anymore. You have to go round the back way.
Painting upstairs, what's in there?
Yeah, it should have been shut, yes. All right.
Larry, we're clearing up space for you to get through that door, okay?
Pile the pressure on. That's what you have to do.
The porter cabins finally vacate the 18th century garden.
Oh, right. Oh, well, don't worry about that, love.
But in the basement, Simon the chef's state-of-the-art kitchen is missing a vital ingredient.
We've got a problem with the gas. What happens is the gas pressure from the main road is not very high. So when we've got the boilers going, everything fired up, if he turns his oven on, the gas pressure goes below a certain level and the boilers automatically switch off. So what we're applying now is for the gas people to increase the pressure, but it's whether or not they've got enough pressure in the main.
It looks as though Brian will have to choose between cold food and a cold house for his opening party.
It is frustrating. It's frustrating, of course it's frustrating for everybody, but, you know, you have to live in these sort of very difficult situations. You know, I served a cocktail party for several hundred people in a cinema, working from a popcorn cupboard. So I'm sure I can. That was for the Queen as well. So I'm sure we'll be able to survive a few days.
We mustn't allow ourselves to get distracted by seeing some lovely things from the main thing, which is to finish everything off. Still a lot to do, isn't there? That's why I walk round every single day, religiously. Hello, gentlemen. When do you think this will be finished? Yeah. By the end of the week?
The battle between the gas and the heating has been resolved.
Okay, Dan, you get a tray? All right.
At last, Simon the chef is fully staffed and is all systems go testing recipes for the party. But the lifts are still not working, and Simon's only going to be able to serve the guests cold canapes.
Is this the first production from the kitchen?
Yep.
It's quite big, that crab one as well, I think. Could be just a bit more spicy. Almost ready.
Libiamo, libiamo negli eti conici che la bellezza inaffiora.
Oh my God, got to get my little Cheryl up here, haven't I? Look at all that.
There are only hours to go until the guests arrive, and the boiler has broken down during the night.
Is the heating going to work? That's my main worry.
Come in, Eddie.
In the music room. It was About -4 this morning. It was terribly cold. When I left here last night, it was freezing. The lights on the second floor exploded in the middle of the night, 2:30, set off the fire alarm. Then the boiler blew up, and then the radiator system burst. We got as much heat on as we could. But of course, I mean, throughout the day, all the heat's gone. So I just hope a lot of people turn up. I think it would have been nice, when we knew how much was going to be ready, to have said, let's postpone the parties until January. But financially, we have to start to get people signing up. Last minute touches.
Quickly come out of there, mate.
1 minute to go.
So far, only a handful of people have actually joined up, so it's crucial that the party guests like what they see tonight.
Doesn't it look lovely now? Could you sign in? Can we take your coat? Can you take the gentleman's coat? Hello, Darcy. Can we have people in the hall, please? Lots of people are arriving here.
Because the lift isn't working, Simon needs to be on the ground floor. Luckily, the unfinished bar is perfect for his needs.
It's actually colder in here than in the fridge, I think.
It's beautiful. I mean, the way it's been decorated and restored is just stunning. And sort of wonderful mix of people here as well.
It's lovely, isn't it? And then through here is a bathroom. Beautiful. Very nice. Because they're wonderful and spacious. It's gorgeous.
I tend to like things a little bit more authentic and a little bit more aged. And I'm sure it will be lovely in about 100 years' time, but at the moment it looks a bit plastic, unfortunately, over-restored.
The decor may not be to everyone's taste, but what about Simon's cold canapes?
Celery and cream cheese was something that my mother was doing in 1960. You know, I think we've got beyond that. This is London, 1998.
Will you join?
I would think so, yes.
When?
When I'm ready, when I can afford it.
The money. I mean, simply the money is a problem. People want to, but, you know, a lot of money. Especially now, I think it is, definitely. Maybe if we could all join for free.
More people arrived than I expected. I'm not sure how many people signed up, though. I think a lot of them came and saw and took the thing and drank the champagne and went.
At their first party of the 200 prospective members invited, only 20 signed up.
Post-party review.
How dare people criticise us?
How do you think it went?
Some people thought that it was too much. It was too much for them. And I think, I mean, I put that down, to be frank, to jealousy, because it's so great. It's very difficult in that party situation for people actually to see the club working.
Brian, do you take the criticism personally?
Of course, absolutely. Very much so, very personally. It's a very personal thing. All of us, all of our directors, you know, are very passionate about this business, and we've put a lot into it. And if people say they don't like it or whatever it does, it's upsetting. But you can't keep everybody happy, otherwise you end up with something which is really bland.
We've created what we wanted to create, haven't we?
We have, and this is bold, and it's exciting, and it's glamorous, and it's fun, and if they don't like it, well, they can stay away. Very nice.
Yeah. I thought the house was actually buzzing last night.
Was.
Those items.
Richard Farley, the major shareholder, has turned up to see how his latest investment is doing.
The membership's going quite well?
We're at 668 as of yesterday. We were expecting to be at nearer 1,000, assuming we had opened when we were meant to open. I think the next 3 months is obviously going to be crucial in that, but...
Why are we held up by so much?
Lifts, lavatories and joinery. and all of them have considerable knock-on effects. You know, we had hoped that we'd be able to get the restaurant open up in November, and that's what our recruitment drive was. And I think the fact that we weren't able to get open in November or even late November means that, you know, a lot of people haven't joined because they can't use the restaurant. We're at our darkest hour now. We've spent all the money. The income is not as much as we'd anticipated. It's so frustrating for us all.
It costs a lot of money by the thing being delayed by 4 months because you have all the running costs and no income. I'd really like to get the thing open, to see it kicking over, to see it being used. So this will be the real centre of operations, huh?
Yeah. Richard and the other club members will have to wait another few weeks before the builders finish and the bar opens.
Oh, yes.
Isn't that beautiful?
The restaurant is now ready for business.
Please.
Yeah, go on, have a seat.
Lovely. Where's the menu?
Simon the chef is still stuck in the basement.
Waiting to get the list back, and we'll start testing the time it takes to get the dishes up there. Communication, how we're going to do that, working with the restaurant. But it's just really fine-tuning now.
When do you think you'll get the list?
Monday.
At last, the lift is working. The bar and the restaurant are open. Membership is now up to 1,000, and the club is finally making a profit. Brian is testing all the new facilities.
Oh, at last. Oh, my glasses are all steamed up long. I'm going to start my diet now. What's wrong with it?
With Home House returned to its former glory, Brian can now hang up his hard hat and get back to his more usual performance, running a club. His restoration comedy is finally over.
Oh, look! It was a wonderful evening.
A Manchester radio station is pinning its hopes on a new disc jockey, former politician Derek Hatton. Next week's Trouble at the Top is at the earlier time of 9 o'clock.
Come.